In this video, we will explore a custom component. This is the ability to describe a template from which widgets are inserted, and doing so programmatically ourselves. For example, I can go to any category inside the component toolkit, and on the top right, click New. This brings me to the interactive development environment where I can edit and produce and publish the widget template or custom component. I've already been assigned a new template clone as my name. Looking quickly at the overall sections, on the left hand side we have the code that is going to construct the component. On the right hand side we see it in preview mode. This is separated into two. We have on the upper side the component is running in preview mode. On the lower half it's in the settings page for the preview mode. In this particular one there is no settings page per se, so it's just saying the message no settings. In this widget it is a text area for entering a JSON blob and just a simple submit query button. This could, for example, be any very simple or very complicated component for a widget, most likely something like a chart or a graph or a map, etc. Looking across the top, we have the filter bar that we're familiar with, the page filter bar, whereby one could select a device or a time range, and that would apply to the widget. The widget may be listening to the filter bar, for example, as it would in an application. Within the development environment here, though, across the top left, index.html is a drop-down, and one can select the various files that are used to build up a component. Index.html, JS, and CSS are all designed for the widget itself, and then it also has 3 settings files. Those files dictate the behavior of the settings page, which one does when inserting a widget into an application. You can change in the drop-down which file you open. The plus symbol allows one to attach a new file, for example. Click Add New File and a pop-up appears to select your file, click OK, and you can insert an attachment here. That file would then be in the same directory as index.html, thus you could reference it. For example, you could insert a logo image or something. A help icon here allows you to see some support documentation, especially the contents of the widget utilities file. This is a JavaScript file which contains lots of helper functions, especially concerned with the matters of creating a component. The Run button allows you to see code changes that you make immediately. So for example, this index.html code on the left is what produces the widget on the right. It currently says query the database, and in the index.html I can see where it says that. Line 28 says query the database, but I could say demonstration 1. I have now changed the code on the left, and if I click the Run button, that saves it to the database, and then the widget updates to say demonstration 1. That was a simple change of the HTML on index.html, but I could also change CSS inside the style component or block. But also there's a script block, and here we have the actual JavaScript which is running on this widget at the moment. For example, we're loading jQuery and then using the jQuery loading mechanism to understand what we were going to run. Within the code I can also see the use of widget utils. A helper function here called getDevicesFromServer is reaching out to the server to find a full list of all the devices the user is allowed to see, and then placing that in a supposed text area. Also, to go get the metrics from the server. Sample text is then constructed, and we can see how that is added to the JSON blob and inserted to the ACE editor as we see it on the right hand side in preview mode. The function run query is what happens when one clicks the submit query button, and we can see the code which operates for that. The function connecting widget init is important because this function will get called when a widget is inside an application. The outer container, that is the application, will pass through the property context and call this function connecting widget init if it exists here. In this case we have built it and it will get called, and this allows us to see the context that gets passed, because that contains a link or a message bus whereby we can receive events coming through from the filter bar across the top for selecting devices or time ranges. The function handle filter change demonstrates this. Now that I've looked at index.html, which is currently running on the right hand side in preview mode, I could select another file. Index.html could reference, for example, a CSS file across the top or another JavaScript file across the bottom. And these JavaScript and CSS files are located here in the drop-down. As it is at the moment, index.js and CSS are empty because I have included a style and code block inside index.html. Settings.html, for example, is a simplified version here where it just says no settings yet. We can change that, for example, and say no settings in this demo. Click Run, and that will be noticed, and we can see that the widget settings preview has also updated. In reality, if you're creating a component which does interact with settings, you will have a much more complicated settings area. It would possibly even have a JSON blob text area like that and a button to click Save Settings. Such helper functions are available as well. Widget Utils has a Save Widget Settings and Load Widget Settings functions, and these can assist in this matter. After one has created the component and the JavaScript and HTML are all running inside the preview mode, we're perhaps ready to publish this. This component may be then accessible to other users so they can add it inside an application of theirs. So to do so, we click Publish on the top right. I click Publish, I can see the overall widget is running in preview mode here, but also we can give it a name. So this was demo component 1. I give it a description name, and I can give it a template category. So for example, I can give it a new category or set it inside demos. In a new category, I could say demo category 2. At the moment, I could click change thumbnail by clicking here and then uploading a new image as a thumbnail, but this will do for now, and click publish. The template, that is the component, has been published, and in demo category 2 we can see what the component we just created called demo component 1. This means that when a user now goes to insert a widget in an application, they can choose demo component 1. I click it and I can see it in preview. Also, I could edit this to make further changes even after it has been published, or clone to create a very similar component and then start making different changes to that one. To demonstrate inserting the new component into an application, I go to the Applications page, edit any particular application. I could add a new page if I wished, but let's just insert it on this page. I click Add Widget, and now select the category that is Custom Components, because that is where it has been stored, and inside Demo Category 2 I see the component that is Demo Component 1. This is the component we just built. I choose to select it, and here we see the widget running, Demonstration 1. I'm giving it the label Demo 1. And we see that there are no settings on the right hand side for this particular widget because that is how we set the component up. So just click Finish. It has been inserted, and I can resize as appropriate. And that is the new component, a custom component, inserted into an application.